Welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast. We have Josh Wagner for his round two on the pod. He's newly author of the Go-to-Market Cheat Code. Today we're going to talk about B2B growth, funding, venture capital, and the cheat code to GTM. This podcast is brought to you by podbuyer.com. If you want to start and monetize your podcast, you can go on our website. We have a free ebook and a masterclass if you want to skyrocket your podcast learning and start your pod in 2025. So podbuyer.com. Josh, welcome to the pod. Congrats on the book. Tell me what's up and tell me about the book here.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be back. Yeah, we're a couple of big milestones here going into 2025. So this is the 2-year anniversary of In Revenue Capital, which is the first ever operator immersive venture capital firm, and then our book, The Go-to-Market Cheat Code, goes live and publishes on January 15th. So we're about a week and a half away.
And why did you author that book? Is it a lead magnet? Is it a source of investment for you? Is it knowledge that you wanted to share for a while? Why did you write it?
Yeah, it's a great question. The short answer is it's a really expensive business card. But if you think about it and what we're really trying to accomplish. So at In Revenue Capital, we're a non-traditional venture capital firm. We invest in B2B vertical SaaS organizations, and we help those organizations build their go-to-market apparatus as a part of our investment. Now, the way we get our own lead flow, excuse me for bouncing the computer, the way we get our own lead flow is through partnerships with other larger, more established venture capital firms, right? So what we're going to tell them is, hey, you should carve out a piece of your investment in this organization for us to co-invest with you. And the reason you would do that is because we have a philosophy on how to help build and scale go-to-market growth for B2B SaaS companies. And here's the proof. And that proof is our book, The Go-to-Market Cheat Code. This is our full thesis philosophy on how you build and scale go-to-market SaaS organizations.
Right. And how long did it take you to write this book? Because I started bookwritegpt.com, which is an AI in which you can upload all your LinkedIn and Twitter posts last year. I'm going to be focusing some of my time on that and energy this year. What was your philosophy with writing the book? Did you use AI? And how long did it take you to write the full stuff?
We actually didn't use AI. My co-founder and partner in this book, co-author, it took us about a year. So it started with a concept, and then we both decided that we needed to sit down and do some major brain dumps. And that was the start of it all, right? Just big, massive, long format, ugly Word documents, right? And then through that, we started to parse through it and understand what the themes were and created an outline that we could use to write against and start to create some structure around. Once we had that outline that essentially became the table of contents, we were able to work through and weave together what we thought the story was going to be. So once we figured that out, it was almost a full rewrite. You know, the brain dump was the brain dump. Now it was like, okay, now that we have some structure, how do we put some of these pieces and parts into something that tells that story? What's missing? Where do we need to find more information? And we found that just our voices alone weren't going to be enough. So we went out and got interviews with a lot of go-to-market leaders in the B2B space, big names like Craig Rosenberg and Joe Rowley and Jay McBain, folks like that who could help harden our thesis and bring an outside perspective into that. That added another few months of just gathering those interviews, then parsing through them and understanding how we could use them to tell the story a little bit better. Once we got through that process, it became a lot of, okay, well, now you've got two authors. How are we going to either create a single voice or use those two voices together? Because it was a little bit clunky. And we spent some time figuring, okay, well, one of us is going to be the idea or the strategy, and then the other person is going to be the more tactical execution side of the equation. And we essentially wrote the book as a ping pong between those two concepts once we had the full thing outlined. And then from there, it was really getting the manuscript hardened, working with the publisher to clean it up and, go through the process with the publisher, which was a whole nother ordeal. But yeah, about a year end to end, just the short answer.
Right. And what results did you see from the date of publication since then?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we've been focused on is pre-sales. And if you've ever written a book, you'll understand that pre-sales is everything that goes into those initial bestseller list designations. So we spent a lot of time, which was probably good for us from a business standpoint overall, really looking at our partners. What other venture capital firms do we work with? Who are the influencers that we work with? Who are all these different folks that can help us amplify this message? And we found it was a really good exercise to kind of get our own internal shop in order in terms of who are the folks we work with, and if we ask them to, buy a copy for their entire portfolio, would they do it? And you find out who the people are that really respect the opinion, know who you are, and want to be working with you. And then you made some new friends that way as well. So I thought it was a good exercise. And like I said, we go live Jan 15, so books are being shipped this week. Anyone who did Amazon pre-orders or bulk pre-orders through our site are going to start getting books in the next week here.
Love it. And what examples of book and or author did you notice and integrated into your writing style and how you actually build the book? I know that Justin Michael is deploying like one book a month nowadays on Kindle. And his approach is very interesting. So who's on your radar when it comes to sales authorship?
Yeah, so I've read a lot of Justin's stuff. He's very, very good. I actually, teach a lot of his stuff to our portfolio company when it comes to prospecting and sales and things like that. So a big fan of his. I would like to say that we are that iterative and that quick, but we certainly are not. I have a background in broadcasting. So for me, I always take a very oral writing style. I write how I talk, and I use that to try to, explain concepts as simply as possible. What I found when I got feedback from folks, we sent it out to some trusted people in the network to give us honest feedback. And we found that both of us used a lot of jargon. They're like, what are you guys talking about? Like, this needs to get dumbed down, simplified, and turned into something that a regular person could actually read. It's just a bunch of business jargon. So that was a good punch in the face to say, hey, you need to simplify the way you're talking. You need to speak to people in a more plain way. But I would say that those are some of the insights that we use to help, iterate and make the book more readable.
Then let's actually talk what's in the book. So you emphasize, for example, the importance of trust in B2B sell. Can you share a specific example where trust building led to a major deal or success in one channel of yours?
Yeah, and what that means is, in a world where inbound and outbound are becoming increasingly noisy, right? For B2B sellers, it's you're not in the age of inbound where HubSpot was crushing it and you're just getting hundreds of leads a week, and it's just qualify, get them through the funnel, move as fast as you possibly can. People aren't answering their phones. Outbound has become increasingly noisy as well. The chance of getting a hold of someone via a cold call or a LinkedIn message or an email are getting lower and lower. I think those rates are unbelievably low. So what people are looking for when they're shopping or even when they're getting something is a trusted relationship, a trusted recommendation. And that's why the go-to-market cheat code is focused on leveraging trust in a scalable way to help go to market. And that takes the form of partnerships. And those partnerships can look a lot of different ways. People think about it as resale partners. They think about it as channel partners. There could be co-sell partners, all sorts of different types of partnerships. And they're all addressed in the book and how you think about those and how you leverage them as a part of your go-to-market strategy. But essentially what you're doing, and this is going to sound horrible, is you're cheating trust, right? It doesn't sound like something that, you would be able to do is cheat trust. But if you have really good partners, you're casting another net different than an inbound net or an outbound net. It's just another net with people that already have the trust of the customers that you want to sell to. And then how do you build trust through that channel that just amplifies it, right? So you're building a one-to-many relationship on hopefully building enough trust with that person to allow them to bring their network into you.
Right. When I was listening to you talk about partnerships, my mind was like, this is a tedious follow-up, right? Me, I'm very bullish on solopreneur businesses with multiple AI agents, and I'm bullish on partnerships, but I'd love to have an agent do the work for me. Do you feel that the future of sales is less CRM based, or maybe these CRMs would convert themselves into agent organizations, but pretty much a chat GPT or an easy UX in which I can say, hey, I have a partnership with Josh, do whatever you need to do to make sure that this partnership is successful?
Yeah, I think there's opportunities there. I'm going to go back to what you said around CRM because it's certainly becoming a more and more antiquated process, right? I think if you think about AI agents, the goal there should be to create more human interactions, right? So that the human can take over and do the most important part of their day or their piece of the puzzle, right? So sales, if we use that as an example, there's not going to be really a replacement for you and me diagnosing your business, sitting down, understanding what's going on, doing an impact analysis, taking that impact analysis, creating a set of recommendations. Here are the business levers. Here's the impact of deploying those business levers. Here's how our solution can activate those levers. Here's the cost of it. And now let's go and let's close that deal. Like, I think that's an inherently human function. But the things surrounding what I just described in a very short B2B enterprise, B2B sales process, all the updating of CRM, who are the people, what does the account map look like, how do I go find 5 more stakeholders, all of that can be supported by AI agents that can help make that human interaction happen more frequently and at a better scale.
Right. Then, yeah, in the partnership ecosystem of things, I was interested in why do you believe this would be the future of B2B growth? Like, why not still direct outreach? Because we've seen cold email take a hit this year. I'm still very bullish on LinkedIn and the podcast approach, right? As a front end funnel, like interviewing people on this podcast, developing a 1v1 relationship, and then from there following up, adding value to these folks, and eventually they would buy from me. Why should I also be bullish on the partnership side of things if I can generate probably 30 leads a week with that one and close 10% to clients?
Yeah. And I think it depends on what you're selling, first of all. But I can tell you from experience, right? Like when I was sitting in the seat as a seller, I got very intentional about where were my customers going? The people that I wanted to sell to, the best fit customers, where were they and how could I get access to them faster, right? And it turned out there were a handful of software partners in my ecosystem that sold to those ideal customers. And I could be almost the glue that pulled all of those different things together, right? So by building with a relationship with, let's say, 5 really good partner organizations and let's say 10 account executives or customer success people within each of those organizations. So now we've got 30, 40 different individual people that we're building relationships with. You can probably build fairly deep, meaningful relationships with those folks that, has a trust layer applied to it. Well, each one of those individuals is out building their own funnel, right? They have their own customers, they're building their own funnel, and they're talking to people. If all of them brought me into 1 deal per year, I would blow out my number, right? So I'm spending time doing what I think is most important, and that is becoming an expert, building trust, building my business acumen, providing value to those people that have access to my customers so that they can bring me in. That I think creates incredible amount of scale and sets you up for a very high customer retention and satisfaction rate.
Right. And I understand that it's a situational thing and it's case by case. But for example, in my case, I believe that me converting my ICP, which is really defined to the bone, and working with them and then having them refer me clients is the best partnership way I can go. Do you feel this is the case for most consultants out there? Because why would someone refer me if they haven't worked with me, right?
Yeah. So I sold consulting for a decade, right? And that I sold almost 100% through partners, right? So it was really through complementary type of services. So, right, you've got the podcast. The podcast is a lead magnet for you. You've got your ebooks. Those are lead magnet for you. But why wouldn't you amplify that message through someone who is not competitive with you, but complementary to you, where you are amplifying your audiences by doing a joint podcast once a quarter, right? Where you go on theirs, they go on yours, right? Okay, it amplifies the message. You co-author an ebook, right? And you use each other's distribution channels to get that message out. Again, think complementary, not competitive. And now you could be, audience hacking, for lack of a better word, where you're doubling, tripling the size of your audience just by partnering with somebody who shares the same ICP, but is offering a complementary, not a competitive type of offering.
What's your philosophy on competition? Because a lot of my competitors, they actually end up buying my stuff, because I'm a level higher to them, and they become my friends, and I love talking to them. And, like, what is your philosophy on competition?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of ways to look at it. One is rising tide raises all boats, right? So if you're up level, if you're the one who is the upper echelon, right, you are bringing up the entire market, and you're saying there's value in this market, there's value in what we do as a collective, and you as a buyer of my product or service should know that this market is real, right? Like you're setting a standard for the market to say, this is worth buying, this is worth investing in, this has value to you and your business, right? So there's that side of the equation. The other side of the equation is, listen, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. If you're partnering with if you're understanding your competition, you should have a deep understanding of how you're going to win against your competition, right? So there's no problem with knowing those people, making friends with those people, knowing you're going to run up against them in sales cycles. But I think if you're confident and know how you're going to win, that shouldn't be a problem for you.
Right. And every time I speak to you, I love that you're very numbers oriented. What is your key to reaching your numbers as a salesperson in 2025? On my side, I've implemented a specific chat with ChatGPT that keeps me accountable. Plus, it gives me ideas, right? Just like a business coach would. And that's really skyrocketing my productivity and performances so far. Any tips for us to increase our performance in the B2B realm?
Yeah. And I would say, let's just go back to what we've been talking about. Let's put a metric around partnerships and give it a try, right? And that metric could be, how many new partners did we activate? How many partner leads do we get? How many partner deals do we get? How do we define our partnerships? Whatever that may be, put some sort of North Star metric in place to get partnerships activated within your organization so that you can run a testable experiment.
Got it. And how do I make sure that I actually reach these goals and stay accountable? Because it's so easy to lose track nowadays with all that noise.
Yeah, for sure. I think that accountability comes many times down to the individual. Some folks are self-starters, have the ability to hold themselves accountable. But if that's not the case, many times having a good, peer, it could be a competitor in your case, right? Like, hey, maybe one of your competitors, let's have a little challenge, hold yourselves accountable to these, growth in 2025. Maybe it's a mentor. I think that especially for folks that are coming up and honing their craft, having mentors that have achieved the success that you're looking to achieve is a good way to hold yourself accountable. So those are just a few things that you can do for accountability. I'm not as sophisticated as you in terms of having AI agents build accountability chats for me, but it sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty easy as well to implement. Just the very basic version of it is a ChatGPT convo that you just tag as your accountability coach. I want to talk about partnerships and how I failed so far at partnerships. So, and also ideas of partnerships, right? Because you mentioned the pod swap, which is a great idea. So I can target people with business podcasts and be like, hey, come on my pod, I'll come on yours and so forth. Although that has had a limited rate of success, right? Always through cold email outreach in my case, or LinkedIn, for example. Mm-hmm. Most pods are inactive nowadays, so I need to overfilter, probably use AI agent to scale it because I wouldn't do it manually for sure. Then there's newsletter swaps, right? As a partnerships, there's content swaps and so forth. There's the sales swap that I've tried. It's like, hey, you're targeting these people, so am I. But then it's like, why should you trust me, right? So I've gone the hey, become my clients route first, and then we'll talk about the partnership thing, and that I give you 15% if I close a deal. So give us ideas of partnerships and precisely what should be the channel and the full system to closing a partnerships, because the only success I had with partnerships was with my existing clients so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say one of the biggest hurdles that people need to overcome in terms of partnerships is a give to get mentality, right? You're going to have to give a lot more upfront and expect little in return in the beginning, but that equation will start to flip if you do it the right way. So, there's a story that we share in the book, And we've had Cassandra Golston on the podcast before. And one of her big stories was she's the CEO of a company called PartnerTap, right? And it's an enterprise level software solution to connect, channel partners. And her ideal partner was a group called InPartner, right? They're a complementary, not competitive solution, right? They're a PRM. And she was a nobody in the space. So she goes to Dreamforce and she basically starts getting leads for InPartner, right? Not getting leads for herself, getting leads for InPartner. And then she starts sending these leads to the sales reps at InPartner. After she sends about, 10, 15 leads over to some of partner sales reps, she reaches out to the chief revenue officer and says, hey, I'm Cassandra, CEO of PartnerTap, saw you at Dreamforce. I just sent 15 leads over to your sales reps. You can talk to these folks and validate. And also your top client is in my pipeline right now. Would love to talk to you and collaborate on that. Right? So this is give. Now I've got a customer that's your customer. I think I can amplify that message. How do we, co-work that deal together? Can you give me some insights? And if you fast forward a decade now, InPartner is is their number one lead source. They've been named Partner of the Year on multiple occasions and all these types of things. So they were incredibly narrow and focused. She said, who has the customers I want, right? Like that was the big thing, right? Like my ICP, who's got them? I don't need to focus on anybody else until I fully penetrate that market, right? And there was plenty of market there to penetrate. And then it was full give to get mentality of let me find out how I can find them as many leads as possible and show them that I'm in business for them, not just for myself. And from there, the results speak for themselves. They became a top partner. They got leads from them, and that train kept moving. But I think the give to get mentality is one of those key things that people often forget with partnerships. It's like, hey, let's be partners so you can send me business. Yeah, you're right. I don't trust you. I don't know you. Why would I send you business?
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, Josh. Where can people find out more about you and the book?
Yeah, please go to inrevenue.com/cheat code is to find the book, or you can find it on Amazon or anywhere where you buy books.
Was Josh Wagner and Charles